WWDC is in one day. That's right, we are in the home stretch here, folks. And over the past 72 hours, we have received a number of bombshell last-minute leaks and rumors. I think personally that this WWDC may well be the most exciting one of my entire lifetime. Which granted is 24 years, so it's not that long, but still, this is a big deal. And if you agree with me and you think that this WWDC is going to be off the rails crazy, you should come to my event the next day, June 6th at 7 p.m. at the Regency Ballroom. I'm going to be hosting an event with John and Sam and my podcast co-host Noah. You can kind of think of this as a WWDC after show where we're going to do a live in-person podcast with audience interaction to talk about everything that Apple announced. And let me tell you, that's going to be a lot of stuff. The event is made possible by Clean My Mac. They've been a huge supporter of the channel, and they are the best way to keep your Mac clean and free up a heck of a lot of space on your SSD. We still have a few tickets available, so check those out with the link in the description below, and I will see you guys in 2 days in person. This is so exciting. Okay, so let's talk about what Apple is announcing, because I think this has a lot of potential to be a really, really exciting WWDC. Hello, what's that? New Macs at the event? Okay, let me tell you guys something. So for a while, we've been expecting there to be a 15-inch MacBook Air unveiled at WWDC. Cool. But hey, guess what? Throw in a new Mac Studio as well, apparently. Mark Gurman has confirmed that Apple is nearing the introduction of what appears to be a new Mac Studio, indicating that it could be announced literally tomorrow. So Gurman said that there's a new Mac codenamed J475, whereas the current Mac Studio is J375. Oh, wouldn't you know, that seems like the next generation Mac Studio model. Now, he did also specify that Apple is testing desktop Macs with M2 Max and M2 Ultra chips, but we're not exactly sure how that would all look. So we've heard a lot of conflicting things about the M2 Ultra, whether it would exist at all, what it would be shipping in, and whether it would come in a Mac Pro or in a Mac Studio. Apple's high-end desktop range is a little bit complicated right now. We know that a Mac Pro is on the way because Apple literally said it themselves in March 2022 when they unveiled the current Mac Studio. They said there's still one more product to go, it's the Mac Pro, but that's for another day. It's now been over a year since then, so it does beg the question, what would this new Mac Pro look like? For a while, we were discussing the possibility of that coming out at WWDC, but now it doesn't seem like that's the case. So we've kind of known for a little while, CCRP, that there wasn't going to be a new Mac Pro. There's just nothing out there, right? Credibility, corroboration, repetition, proximity. We don't really have any of those for the Mac Pro. Back in February, March, we were hearing oh, maybe that could happen. But lately, there have not really been substantial, reputable rumors in the recent weeks and months. So I think there's basically no chance we see a Mac Pro at this event. And so that makes this Mac Studio thing even more confusing. If we're going to have 2 iterations of the Mac Studio before we even get to the Mac Pro, well, what does that mean? And it's even more confusing because Mark Gurman has noted that the M2 Ultra chip was originally designed for the Apple Silicon Mac Pro. But that also doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because it's obviously a direct successor to the M1 Ultra, which was designed for a Mac Studio. So what would be different about it in a Mac Pro? If there's an M2 Ultra Mac Studio, that must mean that there's something even bigger and better for a Mac Pro. People kind of expect a Mac Pro to have some amount of expansion capabilities. I think we're gonna say goodbye to the days of having a user upgradable CPU and GPU, but at the very least, RAM, storage, it is really weird to be in this spot where we have no idea at all what a new Apple Silicon Mac Pro could look like. But to be honest, I don't necessarily think that it would be that useful for that many people. I think the Mac Studio is such a good sweet spot of being small and compact and sitting on my desk right over there, and also having a ton of performance. But I do have some issues with the M1 Ultra that I hope would be resolved for the M2 Ultra. The scaling on the GPU cores definitely isn't the greatest, and sometimes I notice that it freezes and it hangs, especially in Final Cut Pro, which is obviously my main use case. So I would definitely be interested to see how a new M2 Ultra Max Studio performs, especially given what we saw with the M2 Pro and M2 Max that were a surprising improvement over the previous generation despite not being on a new architecture. But all of this does beg the question as well, if we're buying M2 based stuff, that means it's obviously not 3 nanometers. So how long do we have to wait for that? Well, we know that Apple has these huge 3 nanometer chip orders that we're going to be expecting to see later this year for the iPhone 15 Pro, but apparently they're also starting the work of getting these M3 Mac chips under production. So to me, it seems like the M3 chip is probably going to be an October or November thing at the earliest. So just keep that in mind if you are planning on getting anything M2 based. If you are looking forward to 3 nanometer chips, it might be worth holding out just a little bit longer. So it seems like we've got a lot to look forward to at this WWDC. From the Mac side, we've got the 15-inch MacBook Air, which I am still a little bit bummed about because that would almost certainly have an M2 chip, even though it's a full year after the M2 chip came out. So, you know, honestly, I would have preferred if they just waited and put an M3 chip in it, but I do really want to get a 15-inch MacBook Air, so I'm not going to complain too much. We also have this new Mac Studio that is just a total curveball that came out of nowhere. But, of course, the big one is the headset. That is what this event is going to be about. And if you're not convinced that the headset is coming, you got to keep up, because it's coming. The CCRP on this is getting so heavy that Mark Gurman is talking about specific structures being built at Apple Park to accommodate this launch. He says that Apple is planning to give some developers and attendees an opportunity to get hands-on demos with the new headset. So they've built a new structure at Apple Park, which is designed to provide controlled hands-on demos of the headset. And apparently it's semi-permanent, with Apple planning on having hands-on experiences throughout the summer for various developers. So yeah, if you were on the fence about whether you think this headset is coming out tomorrow, they've built a building for it, guys. It's gonna happen. Now, there have been some rumors about the headset itself, including a sketchy one saying that it could be available in 6 colors and 2 storage capacities. This comes from a Twitter account which has previously leaked spec sheets for Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, but you know, take this one with a big grain of salt. So they claim that it's going to be available in black, blue, gray, green, and pink, and a 6th one that we don't know, which is weird, and with at least 2 storage options, including 128 and 256 gigabytes. Now, this is a weird rumor, and Mac Rumors points out that with 6 colors and at least 2 storage capacities, that would be a minimum of 12 product SKUs, which is a lot of variation for a headset that we're expecting to be $3,000+. And also, 128 and 256 gigabytes in a $3,000 machine, I don't know if that's a lot or a little. It will depend on how much local storage you would actually need for this headset. I'm assuming if 256 gigabytes is on the table, then it's got to be like iPhone levels of storage. There has to be some data being locally on this machine, whether it's apps directly installed or photos and videos that you download to the device directly. To me, having storage options like that could indicate that this is a more independent product than, for example, the Apple Watch when it first came out, which is basically entirely dependent on an iPhone to do literally anything. As for when you're going to be able to get your hands on the headset, well, supposedly mass production is going to start around October, ahead of a late 2023 launch. This honestly makes a lot of sense because previous Apple WWDC major announcements, which have included the Mac Pro in 2019, the iMac Pro in 2017, and the previous Mac Pro in 2013, all of those were sort of framed as a sneak peek or a preview where they were announced in June but didn't launch until December. I think it's pretty likely that that's what we're going to be dealing with here as well. Oh, what's that? You think that this is basically going to be like the iPhone 2.0? I'm inclined to agree. And I also agree that this case, the Magic Stand case by CaseCoo, is a really great value because it offers MagSafe compatibility, and the charging stand flips out to become a kickstand to prop your phone up in portrait and landscape orientations. CaseCoo has been a huge supporter of the channel for a while now, and this case is honestly one of the best around. It's got a raised lip around the camera housing and the front of the display to keep your phone protected, while also offering that functionality and coming in a bunch of different finishes to match the colors of the iPhone 14 series. Big thanks to them for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description below to learn more. Now, as a quick refresher here, the headset is going to be pretty insane. The mind-boggling specs that have been rumored so far include dual 4K micro OLED displays with 5,000 nits and 4,000 pixels per inch, a dozen cameras for monitoring facial expressions, hand gestures, and mapping environment, iris scanning, virtual and augmented reality, M2 chips, possibly multiple, what the heck, XROS operating system with 3D optimized apps, air typing and hand gesture-based controls, and the weird one, the external battery bank worn on the hip. That, to me, seems a little bit unusual. Theoretically, we're just gonna have a little plug coming out of the headset going into your pants. So that's not weird at all. Anyway, we don't have to wait long to find out how this is gonna be implemented. All I can tell you is that I am ridiculously excited. So if you are too, leave a like on this video. Definitely make sure to tune in because I will be streaming during WWDC live on this channel. This is all so crazy and it's happening right now. Thank you guys for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and you'll see a lot of me soon over the next couple days. Take care.